Hi, my name is Herman. Today I'm gonna be sharing my personal story of learning foreign languages. This is my first video. We don't consider TikTok, Reels, and Shorts. My personal story started the same way as for other people, as for you. Everything started from the family. I consider myself as a native speaker of two languages, Russian and Ukrainian. I also have some funny stories about that. So, my first language is Russian, but the second is Ukrainian. So, at the age of 5, I was already able to speak both of those languages. In the family, we spoke Russian, even though the mother language of my father is Ukrainian. And at the age of 6, everybody goes to school in Ukraine. And at the age of 5, we were just to get some recommendation and so on. We went to the director of the school and I was speaking Russian there. That period there were already no Russian language schools in our city, only as I know several classes, not more. And everybody thought, even my parents, that I didn't speak Ukrainian. So the director of that school recommended me to speak Ukrainian at school, recommended our family, and at the next morning, my father started to speak Ukrainian with me. But he was really shocked when I was answering also in Ukrainian. And let me explain how it happened. While I was playing with toys, I was listening like for 5 or even 10 hours every day to TV. And the TV was in Ukrainian. So this way I learned Ukrainian. Even though I didn't attend absolutely kindergarten, I managed to learn Ukrainian. The second funny story about my Ukrainian knowledges that nobody knew about is a story with my relatives. Relatives of my father line. It was some kind of holiday. They went to our home and I was playing on PC, sure. And my relatives of the father line came to me and while I was playing, they were asking me some basic things in Ukrainian also. They were speaking with me and asked me to try to answer them. And I was answering really fluently and they were shocked that I was already able to speak Ukrainian. It was even as I remember at the age of 3 or 4. Yes, so I consider myself as a native speaker of both languages because now it's even hard for me to answer what language I speak better, Russian or Ukrainian, because mostly, not always, but mostly I think in Russian. I think my vocabulary is probably bigger in Russian, but my grammar I write better in Ukrainian because I studied at school in Ukrainian. I learned all the rules in Ukrainian, and I also had examinations after school in Ukrainian. And my personal story of learning foreign languages started sure from English. I started to learn English even before going to school at the age of 5. I was attending some kind of classes for children. We were learning like some most basic phrases in English, most basic words and phrases like box, mother, father, hello, how are you? And I didn't even have some bigger success, sure, because it was more like a game. Then I went to the primary school. I already had some basic English knowledges, but it wasn't enough absolutely for me. Even though I knew English better than other children, it wasn't for long. So after the graduating from that school, at the age of 10, after the fourth grade, I went to the gymnasium. There my parents had chosen their subjects English and German. They were my primary subjects at school. Though I didn't even manage to learn English, I also started to learn German. I was learning foreign languages for 10 or 11 years. I didn't absolutely have a lot of success, even though I understood that to succeed in my life, I have to learn English. Why? Because the average salary in Ukraine is approximately $500 or $600. It's absolutely not a lot, and I understood and realized that my salary could be 2 or even 3 times bigger just for knowing English. And my mother had found an English teacher. His name is Victor. Yes, and she called him or she messaged him and he called. Doesn't matter. So somebody called. Somebody called and we spoke a bit. He tested my knowledges and I went to his class. I attended his class. I even had some kind of stress, but only for first several minutes. But after that class, I realized that it was really interesting for me because I really enjoyed that classes. And to be honest, I enjoyed it even a bit more than walking with some people. Yes, at that age, I was walking a lot with my friends. I was 15 or 16. After I went to his classes in May, I was studying there for 3 or 4 months. And then it was the beginning of September. I also found out that I had some basic knowledges, but deep in my head. Therefore, I would even say that I had activated my knowledges from school. It was already the beginning of September, and sure, I was an exception, the same way as other students that go to school, universities. I went to school. It was already the 11th years, the 11th grade, and we study only for 11 years in Ukraine. And do you know what it means? It means that very soon were examinations. I had an opportunity to choose an English exam, but the B1 level that I already had wasn't enough for me because the English level of my classmates were anyway better than mine. I decided to learn history and to write the history exam. I just thought it would be easier for me, but to be honest, it wasn't. And it wasn't really important for me that my knowledges were worse than the knowledges of my classmates. Why? Because I already had seen that my English had improved. I could already speak at least on a basic level. And after that, I really started to learn foreign languages for myself. I had heard that if you know 1000 the most basic words, it was even in summer, maybe even before going to his classes. Honestly, I don't remember. So I started to study this information, and this information and my results were the biggest motivation for me. After that, even though I didn't write the examinations of English, I decided to study foreign languages at the university. First of all, English. I checked, but I had to choose the second foreign language. I was to choose Spanish, but I had chosen German because there were no Spanish at my university. And German was really easy for me because I already had some basic knowledges. I could count in German, I could write and read in German. And this way, my personal story of studying foreign languages started. And now I can say that I speak already 4 languages fluently: Russian, Ukrainian as my native languages, and English and German. Also, I live in Moldova, or the official name of this country, the Republic of Moldova, and the official language in this country is Romanian. Therefore, I had to study some Romanian, and I studied it on Duolingo. And I can say that I have something between A1 and A2 in Romanian.